Hi everybody, hope you're all having a great time. Today I'm going to read to you chapter 1 from my new book, Out the Bottomless Bit 2, which is really a summary of the first book, Out the Bottomless Bit 1. It says, author, since my new book, Out the Bottomless 2, is a sequel to my first book, Out the Bottomless Bit 1, I'm giving a summary of the topics and conclusions of my first book here. We have discussed many topics, including the following important amazing subjects. 1. Bermuda Triangles and their dangerous powers. Number 2. Hollow Earth theory. Number 3. Admiral Byrd and Olaf Janssen's trips to the center of the Earth. 4. Adolf Hitler, occult Nazis in the Hollow Earth, and the alien connection. 5. The Philadelphia experiment with Tesla and Einstein's involvement. 6. The Montauk experiments in time and brainwashing, creating material objects using the minds of psychics together with advanced alien technology. 7. The occult societies. Number 8. Subterranean tunnels and underground races. Number 9. The Illuminati and serpent cults and races. Number 10. Fallen angels, giants, Nephilim. 11. UFO based in the center of the Earth. 12. Abductions of humans for experimentation. 12. 13. Reptilian races and blonde races. 14. Bottomless pits and tunnels honeycombing the entire planet. 15. The soon coming disclosure event and a possible big UFO invasion. 16. The rise of the Antichrist to power and his one world government. Last 7-year peace pact. 17. Final nuclear war. 18. 14 points of the end time occurring before the second coming of Christ. Wow. 19. 4 blood moons and 2 solar eclipses. Wow. Well, that's in the past. That happened in 2014-15. That's when my first book came out the Bottomless Pit 1. 20. The Mark of the Beast. 21. Life after death. 22. Current events in Ukraine and build up to a regional war. Well, events in Ukraine have been going on ever since my first book. That's 9 years, since 2014. The sum of the topics, all the topics of this book. I found it quite good. Books of ENOCH and 2nd EZDRAS. Of course, since then I've made those into books. ENOCH Insights, EZDRAS Insights. And EZDRAS Insights is going to come out soon as a new edition, at least 2 to 3 times bigger than the first one, with a lot more information in it, including 1st and 2nd EZDRAS, not just 2nd EZDRAS. Both of which, these books, both seem to allude to a hollow earth, as do parts of the Bible and many other books. It's too mind-boggling to discover. In the description given by Enoch in chapters 17 to 34, he's shown many strange lands, and among many specific details, he's also shown the Garden of Eden, the Tree of Life, and the Tree of the Knowledge of Good and Evil. Very interesting to note that before Enoch is shown these strange lands, then chapter 20 specifically mentions the names of the angels who take him on a tour. The one in charge of Tartarus is called Uriel. In the next chapters, it is Uriel who shows Enoch all of these strange lands, and together with the angel Raphael, who is listed as being in charge of the souls of men, flies over the Garden of Eden in chapter 32. As pointed out in one of the earlier chapters, it would seem that my Jewish friend in chapter 3 is correct about the earth being hollow, according to their ancient sages, and that the Garden of Eden was there at one time. It would also appear, and I've got the article written in 2008 explaining about this. I think it's at Torah.com. It talks about the Garden of Eden being in hollow earth, as according to sages of Israel. You can find it on the Torah.com. I think that's the address, yeah. It would also appear, same is true as far as the book of Enoch is concerned. In Enoch's vision from chapters 17 to 32, he does not mention seeing any normal people, except the following type of people, Enoch 17:1. And he took and brought me to a place in which those who were there were like flaming fire, and when they wished, they appeared as men. Sounds like angels that can change themselves into men. Were these creatures perhaps fallen angels? ENOCH does, however, mention many types of exotic, colourful birds and plants and tall trees, flowers and very strong aromas, some of which he says he's unfamiliar with, as well as volcanic mountains and deep abysses and fallen angels imprisoned in such fiery places, Tartarus. He also mentions seeing different varieties of very large creatures, such as mammoths and different types of dinosaurs, dragons, etc. ENOCH very accurately describes the topography of inner Earth in a very similar way to other famous explorers who have managed to somehow travel inside the Earth in fairly modern times, such as Olaf Janssen in 1829 and Admiral Richard Byrd in 1926 and 1947. Olaf mentioned a town called Eden inside the Earth, and 4 rivers mentioned in the Bible as flowing out of Eden. The same topography is mentioned in a great deal in Flying Saucers from Centre of the Earth by Dr. Raymond Bernard. I'd like to add a little detail today. If you look at a detailed map of the Middle East, you will indeed find 2 of the rivers so-called mentioned in the book of Genesis, which in modern terms are called Euphrates and the Tigris, but you won't find the other 2 rivers. And although the Euphrates and the Tigris now have written about this in this book here, in the book I'm working on, about the importance of the river Euphrates concerning Revelation 8 and Revelation 16. Well, there's an interesting thing here about this that I will bring out in the new book I'm working on. So I'll add to the details in this book. Okay, where did I get to? Yes. ENOCH very accurately describes the topography of the inner Earth as verified eventually by Olaf Janssen, 1829, Richard Byrd in 1926-47. Oh yes, Olaf mentioned a town called Eden inside the Earth and 4 rivers mentioned in the Bible in Genesis as flowing out of Eden. And what I was saying is, the interesting thing is on today, if you look carefully, you'll find there's only 2 of those rivers as mentioned in Genesis. Those are massive rivers going from where Noah's Ark came down on Ararat all the way down to the Arabian coast down there, it's next to Saudi Arabia. Well over 1,000 miles long, those 2 rivers, Euphrates and Tigris. But you won't find the other 2 rivers as mentioned as supposed to come out of the Garden of Eden. And I think the reason is simple, because Garden of Eden was not in Iraq. Garden of Eden was in the center of the earth before the flood. That's why the rivers don't match up, and a lot of other details don't match up, because Garden of Eden was not on the outside of the earth. It was on the inside of the earth. But I hope to prove in my new book coming out, talking about these things, geography and biblical stories, like the Garden of Eden. All of these writers mention large creatures such as mammoths. All the above writers talk about volcanoes, lots of mountain ranges, and the inner world where it is mostly land. Yeah, according to my book, EZDRAS Insights, based on 2nd EZDRAS, it says there was a land of 1,000 mountains, supposedly volcanic. The truth is, we don't have any mountain ranges with 1,000 mountains in the world today. No chance. Nothing like that. Not more than a few mountains at a time. So it has to be some other realm. Volcanic and 1,000 mountains. That's an incredible description. But you can find these things when you look for them in the Apocrypha books. I want to reiterate here for the record that many explorers to the North Pole have seen many different coloured snows, which when scientifically analysed were found to contain pollen of flowers not found on the outer surface of the planet. Red, green, yellow, blue, orange and black snow. Imagine that. This is near the poles. The black snow was found by scientific analysis to contain iron and ash from volcanoes when there are no volcanoes in the Arctic. So the black ash originated from the inner Earth and came out of the northern opening, so-called North Pole. ENOCH describes the lands that he has shown as volcanic, with vapor clouds and a northern entrance. He also mentions 12 portals through which the stars pass. It's very interesting to note there are 12 constellations which pass above the Earth every year. There are also 12 Bermuda Triangles, which I believe Enoch could actually be referring to in the book of Enoch. Here is a list of distinct probabilities. Number 1. The Earth, the Moon, the Sun, the comets were all created hollow. The sample illustration concerning these astral bodies would be the old-fashioned child's spinning toy top. One had a spiral plunger of metal going through the center of the top. One plunged downwards and the top would spin beautifully for a long time. Observation, the top was hollow. If we take the child's spinning top and fill it up with concrete, we find it will no longer spin. Hollow spheres have the property of being able to spin indefinitely in a vacuum like outer space. Solid spheres would slow down because of the inner friction of opposing inner liquids, supposedly liquids and solids, because of the great mass inside. Calculations have also been made that the whole mass of the Earth could easily be accounted for by, even in the case of a hollow Earth. It has also been calculated that if the Earth was solid, that the gravity would be so great as to crush all living beings on the surface of the planet. These are just a few examples of what honest scientists have discovered about the properties of our planet, and in fact other planets, moons and suns as well. You'll also find detail today that in astronomy and looking at different planets like Mars and Saturn and other places, you'll find there is something strange going on at the poles. It does look like they have holes in the poles on other planets. You can see it with a telescope. Number 2. Inner Earth was probably the original location of Garden of Eden. Some questions that need answering if we conclude that 1 and 2 are indeed correct. 3. When was man forced to leave the inner Earth? There are some who say that mankind left the inner Earth when Adam and Eve were, as it happened after the Great Flood. 4. When we consider Enoch was shown the Garden of Eden by the angels, he was also shown the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Book of Enoch, chapters 25 and 32. It's very apparent that although he mentions the Garden of Eden, plants, trees and animals, he does not mention people. Does this perhaps mean that no humans and giants were living inside the earth at the time of Enoch, around 500, 800 years after creation? 5. When we consider that all of the people on earth at some time, 500 years after creation, or around 5,500 years ago, Enoch had a thorough knowledge of both the fallen angels and the giants. He had direct conversations with the fallen angels. So it seems quite odd that he does not mention people or giants in the aerial view that he had of the strange lands that he passed over in the vision that God gave him. 6. Enoch does talk about Tartarus and hell. It mentions the judgment of wicked souls. The book of Enoch also mentions paradise, known in the time of Jesus as the bosom of Abraham, which Jesus also alluded to as being inside the earth. Although up until recently I had thought he was only talking of a spiritual place, not an actual hollow earth. My conclusion is that the inner earth has both physical domain and spiritual domains. 7. In this book you have read how Cain's line is only listed in the Bible for 6 generations and seemingly disappears. There's more on that too. Pre-flood Atlantean rulers, demigods, have been said to have known about the coming great flood in their time. How did they know in advance? They allegedly also escaped to the inner earth and took the alien technology with them. Well, I don't know if I agree with that one. That's what somebody else is saying when Atlantis sank beneath the waves. No, according to the Bible, everybody was drowned. What was originally in the paradise of God for mankind has been turned now, in modern times, into hell's hornet's nest, as clearly predicted in Revelation chapter 9, with the bottomless pit being opened sometime in the not-too-distant future. 10. We have shown in this book how that inside the earth it is A, a hell, a prison for the souls being punished. B, paradise is there also as a wayfaring station for the good souls being prepared for heaven in a higher dimension. C, lake of fire for the very worst souls such as Satan. D, spiritual location, spirits, demons, sirens, etc. E, physical location which is inhabited by millions of human inhabitants living in many underground crystal cities with very advanced technology, giants and the serpent race in many forms, as well as so-called prehistoric large creatures such as dragons, mammoths, dinosaurs. Very interesting verse showing that the earth is actually hollow is found in 2 Ezra 4:41. And he said unto me, in Hades, the chambers of the souls are like a womb. Perfect description of a hollow earth. 11. In the early chapters of the book Enoch, we find that the angels of God are commanded to provoke the giants, Nephilim, sons of the Anunnaki, fallen angels, to fight against and destroy each other, as brought out so well in Greek and Roman mythology, in the many wars of the demigods. In ancient times, the giants ended up wiping each other out. 12. Certain Eastern religions believe in the inner earth as well. Some monks apparently guard the tunnels which honeycomb our planet and lead from the outer surface to the inner surface in the Tibetan regions. It's interesting that these Oriental religions believe in pacifism, vegetarianism, and in the most dedicated case being celibate. The most dedicated also believe in supernatural powers, and some of their gurus can perform amazing stunts, such as walking on hot coals of fire, lying on a bed of nails, and even throwing a rope 20 meters straight up in the air, just hangs there whilst a guru's son climbs up the rope. How to explain that other than it being supernatural? 13. According to Dr. Raymond Bernard's book, Flying Saucers from the Centre of the Earth, the inhabitants of the Earth, inner Earth, are pacifists and vegetarian. They no longer fight wars against each other, at least the humans no longer do. The serpent race apparently are much more dangerous and beguiling. 14. In Olaf Jensen's book, Voyage to Inner Earth, he stated that in 1829, he and his father stayed with several 12 to 15 foot giants for 2 years, and they were treated well by the giants. 15. Those in the inner earth, according to Dr. Raymond Bernard, do not believe in Jesus and actually vehemently deny his existence. Those of Middle Earth worship the black sun. 16. This god of theirs, of the inner world, apparently puts on a show once in a while to keep all the inner world physical humans and giants in line with certain satanic teachings, especially of non-belief in Jesus. Enoch mentions that when he was inside the earth, he saw people who looked like beings of fire, but that when they wished, they could appear as ordinary men. Those sound like fallen angels. 17. What if Satan, as this inner master of the underworld, wisely decided a long time ago to stop the giants and humans inside the earth from fighting against each other? The book The Coming Race, which came out in the late 19th century, was talking about a race of giants. Satan wanted to create an army of physical people and giants to eventually be trained as his army to invade the outer surface of the earth when the time is ripe. I think it's very likely that Satan inspired people to create a pacifistic religion and vegetarianism to keep his inhabitants calmer and more pacified. It also stops the giants from eating meat and becoming bloodthirsty and going back to cannibalism. He has also promised them that one day he will lead them to victory against the humans on the outer surface of the earth, as suggested in the book The Coming Race. 18. There will come an invasion of the outer earth. Some terrible things will happen as described in this book at the beginning of the tribulation, or when Satan finally fully possesses the coming Antichrist. The very worst things, however, will only happen after the rapture and all the true believers in Jesus have gone home to heaven. Well, this is part 1. I'll do part 2 of this chapter 1 of my new book, Out the Bottomless Pit 2, tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed that first part of chapter 1 from my book, Out the Bottomless Pit 2, which really summarizes my first book, Out the Bottomless Pit. Thanks for listening. Do get my books, my Insights books. I have 7 Insights books, including Enoch Insights. And I also have 2 paranormal books, Out the Bottomless Pit 1 and 2. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye for now.